How's it? Welcome back. So I recently made a new pillow that's surprisingly comfortable. It's cheap and it weighs 15 pounds. Before getting to that though, anyone who's been following me for a while, you probably already know that I am pretty ridiculous when it comes to pillows. I have a ton of different ones. I've tried just about every single pillow out there. I like to sleep with a ton of them, ideally 8 that all go in certain positions around my body. And I like to have the different types of pillows made out of different materials that go in specific locations around my body. And it is mostly for comfort purposes, right? Where I essentially build like a coffin out of it, and I like to start off sleeping on my back so I can like plop my ass in bed and know I'll be comfortable enough to be able to commit to not moving until I fall asleep. Like I could lie there essentially totally still, or at least not changing body positions and going to my side or anything for an hour easy. And then like later on in the night, I do tend to switch positions to my sides at certain points. So then I'll have the pillows around so I can easily adjust as needed. Okay, but then I also do it for body mechanic purposes, mostly focusing on my low back, where I like to sleep with my knees raised up to help keep my low spine and back neutral. But then it's also very important to have proper neck and head support. And so for most people, they tend to sleep on their back and on their sides. Like stomach sleeping is the least common. But back sleepers tend to like flatter pillows than side sleepers, right? Because this gap is bigger. So it's good to have different types of pillows that can fill those roles. Or like for me, I do generally like flat pillows, but when I would switch to my sides, I would sometimes have to like fold that pillow in half so it'd be thicker to fill in this gap. But they have way better options than that. So out of my millions of pillows I got, most of them are made out of cotton or whatever the standard pillow material is. I also have a couple down pillows, which I know when I was younger, these were like the fancy expensive shit, but they're pretty cheap nowadays. So, I got some of these, which are really fat, but they're like also super like soft and kind of pointless. So I find that even though this is fat, when I sleep on my side, it's actually not thick enough or dense enough to fill in this gap. But my kids like to sleep with that one. I have some memory foam type, where this is called a cervical pillow. This was my favorite pillow for a while. They're like the middle's the lowest. This part here, towards like the outsides of the middle, is lower than the sides over here. So like the center of your head can like go right here, and then this part will still support your neck. But then when you roll to your sides, because this side is thicker, it can fill in this gap. So I used this pillow for years, but I found way better shit since then. I also have regular, like a generic memory foam, normal pillow shaped pillows. This one, when I first got it, I didn't like it at all. But what I found is, because I like to basically build this coffin shape with my pillows, is I cut it in half. And then this part here is slanted, so I'll just kind of like wedge it around my sides to kind of give me that nice support. So this is a really, the other half in this pillow are a really crucial setup to my sleeping pillow castle that I like to sleep in. But then, okay, we also have buckwheat pillows, which I think there was like a really popular infomercial on back in like the 90s called the Sobakawa pillow. So we used to have one. Like those are pretty good, right? Some of the best things about them is because you have like these beads essentially in them that can move around and slide. When you're on your back, you can just kind of snuggle your head into it, and then the center part will get lower, but then it will puff up underneath your neck to still give you that support. But then also because it holds its shape, when you roll to your side, you can just simply puff it up like that and it'll get thicker to fill in this gap. Like we had one forever, but man, it started to stink. I guess the thing was just too old. Plus it was noisy and it's not really all that soft. So a way better version of the buckwheat pillows are millet hull pillows, which is what this thing is here. It's a lot lighter, way softer, way quieter, and has all the same benefits of the buckwheat pillows, right? It can adjust when you're on your back, and then it holds its shape when you go to your side to fill in this gap. But another option, aside from the buckwheat pillows, which are kind of expensive, millet hull pillows are like the most expensive, is you can make a way cheaper version of it simply with rice, which is what this thing is here. So this is basically like 15 pounds worth of rice that I stuffed into a pillowcase with a zipper on it. And it's pretty comfortable, man. I would put it about on par with the buckwheat. Granted, it does smell like rice, which isn't necessarily the best. And hopefully, since it is rice, you don't get like creatures somehow getting in there and living in it. But, the past couple of days that I've had it, you know, obviously that's not an issue. But this is actually pretty good. Like, it moves around when you're on your back to get flat and puff up under your neck to support you. It holds its shape when you roll to your side and you want to be thicker to fill in this gap here. And I actually kind of like the weight. One of my 8 pillows is I like to put a pillow on my chest, right? And I found that this one here is actually, it's pretty comfortable to have that 15 pounds of weight sitting on your chest. Now, you know, it's not on there all night. I did end up taking it off, but at least when I was falling asleep, this was surprisingly kind of comfortable to have. So just a quick, totally random ass video. If anybody out there has an extra bag of rice and a pillowcase with a zipper, give it a try. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. So I've been using my 15-pound rice pillow a lot the past week or so now that I've had it, and it's actually become my primary pillow when initially going to sleep at night and starting out on my back. So I thought I would share a bit more information about it. Before getting to that though, gotta address the obvious thing first. What the hell happened to my face, right? Like, I was gonna hold off on posting any new videos, or I guess recording any new videos, or, you know, inserting this particular part here into this current video until I got my retainer back. But to be honest, it's kind of fun talking without it, even though it makes saying like F and S's and shit like that harder to say. But then I also thought too, it'd be cool to kind of throw into the end of this video just to see who out there actually watches my entire videos. So if you're one of the few people to do that, this could be like a little jump scare surprise, get you ready for Halloween or something. But anyway, in case this is your first time seeing me missing my tooth, I'll give you a quick recap on it. I lost it a good 20 years ago, got into a fight one night at this beach called Sandy's. Been rocking a retainer ever since then. And in the past 20 years of having a retainer, it's only broke on me twice, and the tooth part was never the part that broke until this past Sunday. I was having a fantasy football draft party. I was eating some food and that shit broke off. I'll insert a picture of it, you know, in here somewhere. But like the first time it broke was maybe about 5 years or so after initially having it. I had it in my pocket, forgot it was in there, and leaned up against something that ended up snapping the retainer in half. So like the tooth was still on there and it would still kind of sit in my mouth. Like I couldn't eat or anything with it, but I could talk and at least put it in there the majority of the time until I got my replacement in. But then I went ahead, got the replacement, and that replacement lasted me, you know, got to be close to something like 15 years. I would eat with it, but basically pretty much never take it out unless I was brushing my teeth or something. Worked great for me until I had like this really bad stomach flu a few months back. Was like barfing my brains out in the toilet and just kept flushing it because the smell was making me barf harder. And then I apparently barfed it into the toilet and flushed that shit down the drain. So, you know, I was like toothless like this for about a week or so. Got my replacement. Everything was all good. But I guess the build quality on it is a lot shittier than it used to be, because then that freaking tooth popped off. So I'll be looking like this for, you know, probably like another week. Hopefully I get it back sooner than later. But anyway, onto this whole pillow thing. So I've been really liking this 15-pound rice pillow. Now, I wish I could remember, you know, like more of the specifics about the buckwheat or like the Sobakawa pillow that I used to have. Because in my head, they really were quite similar to this. But one of the things I've really liked about this rice versus the millet hull pillow, which generally speaking is just a better, lighter version of both a buckwheat pillow and this rice one. But this rice pillow, it has a few things really going with it. So, you know, like the rice beads and stuff like that can move. So you can really get a nice, you know, so this part in the back of the head can sink in. It puffs up under the neck to give you good support. But it tends to hold its shape better than like the millet hull does. So with the millet hull pillow, I can literally just do this and all the beads will move around. I can get nice support. This one, you have to kind of like, to get it perfect, you got to kind of move it with your hands and shit like that. But then it holds its shape really well. So like when I initially start off on my back, I build like this coffin of pillows around myself. Now, like, it's almost like I have a coffin around my head. I'm wearing like a helmet where it really holds your head really steady and still. You can almost like pile it up around the sides. And I do think, just by luck, I ended up putting like just the right amount of rice into this pillowcase. Because I think like one of the main issues with the Sobakawa pillow is it was like it was too full. Like the buckwheat pillow was too full, so I didn't have that much space to move around the beads. Where this one is empty enough that I can really like move it around and like form it around my head just perfect. And it's really comfortable. At least when you're on your back. I do find when I'm on my side, especially because I sleep with earplugs and things like that, it's a bit too firm. I can kind of feel like the earplug getting smashed into my ear. But at least when if you're like a back sleeper, you really got to give this this rice pillow thing a try. It's really pretty dope. Well, one of the other kind of issues with it though is, for me at least, I don't move. When I initially go to sleep at night, my ass is staying very, very still for a prolonged period of time. But then say I wake up, 4 hours later, got to go bathroom or something like that. If you don't lie down back into position just right because you made this like helmet around your head with the rice, it's hard to lie down in the exact position. So then, I like it when I'm on my back, so I have to like move the shit around and kind of get it to form fit again. And when you wake up in the middle of the night, I want to be awake for as little of time as possible. I don't want to fuck around with trying to move really move the rice around to get it to fit just right. So, that part is kind of a hassle. But at least as far as it goes, when you initially get into bed and you have everything set up just right and you'll be pretty much comfortable and you can commit to not moving for a pretty long period of time, it's really working great. So yeah, any back sleepers out there, go find a pillowcase with a zipper on it, go buy some rice, and you got to try this thing out. It really is pretty dope. Anyway, with that said, we'll leave it there. Until the next video, keep your sleep practices legit.